My parents told my 18-year-old daughter they needed her college fund for emergency home repairs. She gave them everything, then they paid for my niece's $41,000 wedding. I didn't lose it. I did this. 12 days later, a process server knocked on their door. They opened it and started hyperventilating. The night it happened, everything felt normal, boring, even the kind of family dinner you forget about the second you leave. Spaghetti and meatballs, garlic bread that came from a bag, my mom complaining about the neighbor's dog again. I didn't know it yet, but that would be the last time things felt ordinary. My daughter Maya, fresh 18 and still figuring out how to navigate being an adult without looking like she was trying too hard, sat next to me stabbing at her pasta. She gets quiet around my family, shrinks into herself like she is taking up too much space. I have spent most of her life telling her to do the opposite. Across from her sat Bella, my sister's daughter, 22, gorgeous and loud in that way that gets mistaken for confidence. Not a bad kid, just very used to being the center of attention. Nicole, my sister, was practically glowing as usual, and my parents looked 10 years younger than they should have. You would think they would discovered the fountain of youth. We were halfway through dinner when Bella tapped her fork against her water glass and stood up. I thought maybe she would gotten a promotion or was finally setting a wedding date with Derek, her boyfriend of 3 years. Instead, she grinned that smile that had been charming teachers since kindergarten and said, "I am getting married in 6 weeks." Polite pause, then clapping. Nicole started tearing up immediately. Mom put her hand to her chest like Bella had just announced she was pregnant with the next Messiah. Bella's eyes were shining when she continued. "I wouldn't have been able to do it without Grandma and Grandpa. What they gave me was so generous, so much more than I ever expected." I smiled, even clapped. Maya didn't. I didn't think much of it. I didn't want to say the amount because it feels tacky, but honestly, I am just so grateful I have to share. It was $41,000. I actually cried when I saw the transfer. Gasps! Cheers! Dad made some joke about inflation. Nicole practically climbed over the table to hug them both. I think I said something like, "Wow, that is incredible," because it was generous. Surprising? Sure. But we would all been tight, lipped about finances lately. Maybe they would come into some money. I didn't feel hurt or excluded. I felt nothing unusual, except for Maya. She was completely still. Her fork sat untouched beside half. Eaten spaghetti. Her hands were in her lap, clenched so tight her knuckles were white. "You okay?" I whispered. She nodded without looking up. "Just tired." 15 minutes later, she stood up and said she wasn't feeling well. I offered to drive her home, but she insisted on taking her car, said she needed the air. I let her go. If I had known what was waiting for me back home, I would have run after her. But instead, I poured another glass of wine and helped clear plates. I got home about an hour later. The house was dark except for the kitchen light. Maya sat at the table, still in her jacket, phone face down next to her. She looked like she hadn't moved. "Hey," I said gently, "talk to me. What is going on?" She didn't answer right away. I could see her trying to figure out how to begin. Then she looked up at me, eyes bloodshot, voice barely above a whisper. "I gave Grandma my college fund." I blinked. "What? All of it? The full $41,000. I transferred it to her last week." It was one of those moments where your brain tries to protect you by slowing everything down. I think I even laughed a little. "Wait, what are you talking about? Why?" "She told me they needed it for emergency repairs," Maya said. "She said there was water damage in the basement from the heavy rains last month, that it wasn't covered by insurance, and they didn't want to tell anyone because they were embarrassed." I sat down across from her, the floor tilting under me. She said they would been putting off dealing with it, but now it was urgent. Mold was starting to grow. She told me the day I turned 18. Said she would been waiting until I had access to my savings. I stared at her, trying to make it make sense. "And you didn't tell me." She looked up at me, eyes rimmed with red. She asked me not to. Said she didn't want to make it a big thing, didn't want people to worry or try to stop her from handling it herself. I just thought I could help. I figured I would take a gap year, work, get student loans. I didn't want them to suffer if I could prevent it. There was a pause. Then she added quieter, I didn't do it because I was scared. I did it because I wanted to. My stomach dropped. How much? I asked, even though I already knew. Maya pulled out her phone with shaking hands and turned the screen toward me. $41,000. The memo line said, for emergency repairs. Hope this helps. I stared at it like it might disappear, but it stayed exactly where it was, and suddenly everything else didn't. I am sorry, she whispered. I really thought I was helping. You don't have to be sorry, I said, my voice low and flat. You were lied to. She started crying then. I pulled her close and held her, but I wasn't all there. My body stayed on the couch. My mind was already moving, cold, focused, silent, making a list. I didn't shout. I started planning, and 12 days later, a process server handed my parents a letter. They opened it and started screaming. There is this phrase people love to throw around. We are just a normal family. I used to say it too. Not out loud, but in that quiet way you explain things to yourself. Sure, my mom could be passive, aggressive, and my dad conveniently forgot every birthday that didn't involve sports, but nothing out of the ordinary. Right? Now when I look back, I see something different. Not because they were cartoon villains. That would have been easier. It is because everything seemed normal until it wasn't. I used to tell myself they were good people who made small mistakes. For a long time, I believed it. When Nicole got pregnant at 19, my parents didn't throw her out or shame her. They bought prenatal vitamins and started reading parenting books, like they were preparing for round 2. Nicole lived at home, of course. She was still a teenager, but they shifted into this all. Consuming grandparent mode like Bella was some divine due. Over at the time, I thought it was beautiful. I was 22, juggling college finals and a part-time job, plus a boyfriend, who should have been an ex-boyfriend 6 months earlier. I didn't have time for envy. I genuinely admired them for stepping up, but somewhere between supportive and obsessed, something shifted. They treated Bella like she was theirs, not just in a loving grandparent way, in a this is our last shot at getting it right kind of way. And if I am honest, that would have been fine too, until they started asking me to help. First, it was small stuff. Can you pick up diapers on your way home? Nicole's feeling overwhelmed. Can you take Bella for the weekend? I always said yes. I didn't have a kid yet, and I figured that is what family does. But helping slowly turned into funding. When I graduated and got my first real job, they started calling with phrases like, "We are just a little short this month," or "Bella really needs new clothes for dance class," and Nicole's hours got cut. I didn't question it. I loved Bella back then. The money was manageable. Then I had Maya, and suddenly everything shifted again. I remember bringing Maya over for the first time. She was only a few weeks old, tiny, still in that wide-eyed baby stage. My mom held her for maybe 10 minutes, and then put her back because she looked tired. Then she spent the next hour showing me new photos of Bella at a ballet recital. I told myself not to overthink it. Grandparents bond differently, right? Maybe they just hadn't connected yet. But months passed, years passed, and the difference got harder to ignore. My parents gave Bella a charm bracelet for being such a bright star after a school play. When Maya got the top academic award in her grade, they mailed her a generic congratulations card. They once threw Bella a surprise half-birthday party complete with decorations, homemade cake, and a $100 bill tucked into a glittery card. Maya's real birthday? They called at 8 p.m. and said they would forgotten what day it was. When Bella mentioned liking baking, my mom cleared out a whole drawer in the kitchen and labeled it Bella's Baking Things. Maya brought over cupcakes she made from scratch once. My mom said, "Oh, I am trying to cut back on sugar." It wasn't one massive betrayal. It was quiet, repetitive, a pattern of praise in one direction and polite tolerance in the other. I told myself it didn't matter because Maya didn't seem to notice. Until she did. But long before that, I did. I just didn't want to admit it. The real moment it clicked wasn't dramatic. It was a Tuesday. My mom called and said they were struggling with utility bills, asked if I could float them $300. I wired it without thinking. 2 days later, Bella posted a picture with a brand new iPhone and a caption that said, "Thanks, Grandma. You are the best." I didn't say anything. Not then. but that was the last time I gave them money blindly. After that, I started saying no, swiftly, nicely. But no, sometimes they pushed. It is just temporary. You are doing so well. But I held the line. I thought that was enough. What I didn't realize was that while I was guarding my bank account, they were eyeing my daughters the worst part. I thought I would done everything right. Taught Maya how to spot red flags. Shielded her from bad boyfriends, predatory lenders, online scammers promising free iPads. But I never thought I would have to protect her from her own grandmother. They didn't just lie to her. They took $41,000 and wrapped it in manipulation and handed it to someone else. I keep thinking, were they always like this? Or did their obsession with Bella finally rot their common sense? Either way, I missed it, and my daughter's paying for it. Literally. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, trying to understand how we would gone from normal family dinner to my daughter has no college fund in the span of 2 hours. Ryan kept asking if I was okay. I lied badly. At 3 a.m. I got up, walked barefoot into the hallway, and opened Maya's door just enough to see she was still breathing. I hadn't done that since she was a baby. She was curled up in a ball, hoodie still on, phone on her chest. In the morning, I drove straight to my parents' house. I didn't tell Ryan I was going. I didn't call ahead. I wanted to see her face. I needed to. The house was quiet. Leftover containers stacked in the fridge, wine glasses soaking in the sink, the afterglow of a perfect little family dinner. My mother opened the door in her robe, mascara still smudged under her eyes. She blinked at me like I was the one out of place. "Sarah," she said, "is everything okay?" "You tell me," I said, stepping inside. She padded toward the kitchen, put the kettle on like we were about to chat about curtains. I didn't sit. "Did you ask Maya for her college fund?" I asked. She didn't flinch. "She offered it," she said, calm as anything. "She is a very generous girl. You raised her well. You told her you needed it for emergency repairs. I never said I had work scheduled. You let her believe there was water damage. You told her not to tell anyone. You watched her drain her entire future for you. And now Bella's making toasts about wedding deposits?" I got a pause. She looked down at the kettle. "I didn't force her. She is 18. It was her choice." My hands were clenched so tight I could feel my nails pressing crescents into my palms. "So there was no water damage," I said quietly. She didn't answer. "You asked her for $41,000 for repairs that didn't exist." She finally turned around. "I might need repairs one day. I am not young anymore." It was so absurd, I actually laughed. One bitter sound. "Wow," I said. "You really are something else." "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "All fake warmth gone. You are making this about you. Your daughter made a choice. If she regrets it now, that is on her. She doesn't regret it. She wanted to save you." I stepped closer. "And you let her think you were in crisis. You said it was private. You said you didn't want anyone to worry. You lied to her face. She will understand when she is older." "No," I said. "She will not." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked out, got in my car, drove home in complete silence. At home, Maya was still in her pajamas eating dry cereal out of a mug. She looked at me, eyes puffy but calm. "Did you talk to her?" she asked. I nodded. "There is no water damage." She stared at her spoon. "That is what I thought." We didn't talk for a while. Then she said, "Do you think Bella knows?" It was a good question, one I needed answered, so I called Nicole. She picked up on the first ring, sounded chipper. Probably thought I was calling to congratulate her daughter again. I kept my tone even, explained everything, how Mom had lied about needing repairs, how Maya gave her entire college fund, how that exact amount was now sitting in Bella's wedding account. Nicole didn't say a word for a few seconds. Then, "Look, I don't know what Mom told you, but that money was a gift. It is not our fault your daughter gave it away. You don't think she deserves it back? Why would we give it back? Mom gave it to Bella. End of story, even if she got it by lying. I don't control my mother," she snapped, "and neither do you." Then she hung up. I sat there staring at the phone, breathing through the rage. Later, Maya messaged Bella, a long, polite, carefully worded message. No accusations. Just, did you know where the money came from? Bella replied with one line. Grandma said it was hers to give. Maya looked at me with wide, exhausted eyes. Now what? That was the moment I realized what scared me most. Not that they took her money, not that they betrayed her, but that this betrayal was how her adult life was beginning. She was 18, barely old enough to vote, and already she knew what it meant to be used. We are talking to a lawyer, I said. I don't want to sue Grandma, she whispered. I know, I said. We will start by gathering information. That is all. It was true. For now, we sat down together and printed out the bank transfer. The memo line read, "For emergency repairs. Hope this helps." We scrolled back through her texts. There were 2 messages from my mom. I've been dealing with water damage, but I didn't want to worry anyone. Please don't tell your mom. She has enough on her plate. Our lawyer was calm, kind, and quietly furious. She said the case was strong. It wasn't just a family betrayal. It was fraud. Maya sat through the meeting, nodding slowly. She didn't say much. That night, she told me, I want to talk to her first. I want to look her in the eyes and give her one last chance. I didn't argue. I just waited. She went alone. When she came back, she didn't cry. She just said, she acted like I was the problem, like I was being selfish, like I was the spoiled one. Then she sat down, pulled out her phone, and said, "Okay, let's do it." So we did. The paperwork was signed, the complaint filed. About a week later, during a follow-up call, our lawyer said casually, "Oh, and by the way, they have been served." She opened the letter right there in front of the process server and started screaming, called me a predator, a traitor, and this was new, a brainwashed puppet of the youth. I blinked seriously. She chuckled. I have been called worse. I didn't laugh, but I smiled a little, because now it was real. It was official. They knew what was coming, and this time there was no pretending, no soft landing, no way out. I didn't expect my mother to trash Maya before the court date, but then again, I didn't expect her to scam her either, so I guess that is on me. A few days after they were served, the phone calls started. Not to us, of course, to our relatives, our family friends, even the neighbor who once walked our dog while we were on vacation. Apparently, Maya was a selfish, entitled brat who gave a little spending money to her aging grandma and then turned around and sued her for attention. My aunt sent me a message that said, "I hope this isn't true. Your mom said Maya is trying to take money from a poor old woman just so she can have more spending money at college. Please tell me this isn't real." Maya saw it. She didn't cry. She just went very still and said, "Spending money. That is what they think this was." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. We just got quiet, organized, and focused. I sent the proof to the few people who still had the decency to ask before judging. The bank transfer screenshot, the 4 emergency repairs memo, the texts. "Please don't tell your mom. It is not covered by insurance." No commentary. Just the facts. A couple of them stopped replying altogether. 1 or 2 quietly switched sides, but most just vanished. People are cowards when you ask them to pick between lies and confrontation. Then 4 days before the hearing, my mother showed up at our front door, Ryan answered, looked over his shoulder at me, and said flatly, "It is her." I walked out. She was in a soft gray cardigan, clutching her purse like she was auditioning for a sympathy role in a courtroom drama. "We don't have to do this," she said without a hello. "We can sit and talk. You are my daughter. I know things got messy, but suing your own parents. Sarah, this isn't you." I just stared. She went on, voice warm and trembling like she was holding back tears. "Oscar, Worthy, you need to think about what this will do to Maya. She doesn't want this. She is just a child. She got confused, and now it has gone too far. You could still stop it. We could move past this." I said nothing. Then she dropped the warmth and snapped, "We gave you everything. Everything. And this is how you repay us." That part was more familiar. I didn't shout, just said, "You didn't give her anything. You took everything." She flinched, then left, muttering something about betrayal and shame. Ryan closed the door behind her and exhaled like he had been holding his breath for a year. And then it was court day. We arrived early. Maya looked pale but composed. She wore a dark blazer she borrowed from a friend and clutched her folder like it might save her life. I didn't say much. I just sat beside her. My hand touched hers once, and she held on like she might fall through the floor. Otherwise, when Mom and Dad walked in, they looked small, but not weak. Not sorry. My mother wore pearls. Dad walked upright. Their lawyer, some slick, gray-haired man with a perfect tie, smiled like this was a game he was going to win. And for a minute, I worried they might. Their version of the story was polished, emotional, just twisted enough to sound true if you didn't know better. She offered to help, Mom said, her voice gentle and cracking in the right places. I didn't ask, she has always been so kind. I told her not to, but she insisted. Dad nodded solemnly. She is young. She got confused, and then her mother got involved. Their lawyer framed it as a well-intentioned family misunderstanding turned tragic by overreaction. When they mentioned Maya's Instagram, yes, they printed photos of her at a friend's birthday dinner, smiling with a mocktail. I thought I might leap across the courtroom, but the judge shut it down fast. Let's stick to the facts. Counselor. Then it was Maya's turn. She stood up slowly, walked to the stand, and I swear my heart cracked open just watching her. She read the bank memo aloud for emergency repairs. Hope this helps. Then she showed the texts. Her voice shook but didn't break. She said there was water damage in the basement from the heavy rains, that it wasn't covered by insurance, that they didn't want anyone to know because they were embarrassed. They didn't have enough savings for emergencies. The judge turned to my mother. Was there water damage? Mom paused. Not exactly, but it might be necessary. I have had concerns. Have you received any estimates for repairs? I didn't want to worry the family. Was there a problem requiring immediate attention? I wanted to be proactive, and you accepted $41,000 from your granddaughter without telling her mother. I didn't think she would want me to refuse. I am her grandmother. And did you use any of that money for home repairs? Silence. Did you or did you not use the funds to pay for your other granddaughter's wedding? It was a gift. The judge stared at her for a long, long time. Then he spoke. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Maya Chen. The defendants are ordered to repay the full $41,000 plus legal costs. This court concludes that the funds were transferred under false pretenses with deliberate misrepresentation. Mom gasped loud, dramatic, like she would just been stabbed. Dad dropped his head into his hands. Maya just sat there, so still, like she was afraid to believe it. After court, I overheard Mom whispering to Bella in the hallway. We will fix this. Just give it back to us for now. We will pay you back once we have sold some things. Bella said, You told me it was yours. You lied to me too. That is your problem now. Then she walked away. Nicole refused to help, said something about already having her own mortgage and not being dragged into the circus. A week later, my parents' house went on the market. 2 months later, they were living in a 1-bedroom rental with peeling paint and no dishwasher. I didn't go see it. I didn't need to, because justice doesn't always come clean. It comes in installments, legal fees, quiet dinners, proof, and finally silence. Fast forward a year and a half, Maya's in her 2nd year studying psychology. She says she wants to understand people better. What makes them lie, manipulate, betray the people who love them most. She is doing well, still generous, still kind, but now she double-checks before giving anything away. We are still no contact with my parents, Nicole or Bella, and honestly, life is quieter now. Cleaner. We sleep better. What happened broke something in all of us, but it also built something new. Something stronger. But tell me this, did we go too far or just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.